This is an example of breaking down and cleaning two types of semi-automatic handguns. The GLOCK 19 and the Ruger LC9. This is not the LC9S, this is the older model LC9. We've got the pieces that we need to clean these guns, but first let's go through the steps that it takes to break down each type of gun. First step, always remove all of the ammunition, preferably from the room. I've taken out all the ammunition from both magazines, the magazine for the GLOCK, 12 rounds, and the magazine for the Ruger, 7 rounds. Those are out and done. Now, the way we disassemble the gun is the following. You'll take the gun and ensure before you do anything else that the gun is unloaded. The way you do that is to hold the slide. Here's the slide lock. Push the slide to the rear and lift the slide lock up, locking the slide in the open position. That gives you a chance to look down into the ejection port to the barrel and the chamber of the actual gun itself. There is no round in the chamber and no round being introduced into the chamber because we have no magazine in the mag well either. So you'll check the chamber and check the magazine well. The gun is unloaded. You release the slide and let it slam home. The next step is to release the trigger by pulling the trigger. You put the gun in a safe direction, pull the trigger. The trigger clicks. That will allow you to take the slide off the front of the frame. The way you take the slide off the front of the frame is to get what is called a gunsmith grip. The gunsmith grip is achieved by putting your thumb under the beaver tail of the frame, your fingers on top of the slide, so that you can release the tension of the spring that's inside the slide. You want to release that tension just a small amount so that you can pull down the slide unlock, which is contained on this side of the frame and this side of the frame. We do that by using another hand and pulling those down at the same time and holding them. But first, the gunsmith grip, the thumb with the fingers, pull back about 1/8 inch to release the tension on the spring. You do that and you can hear it. Once that's done, your other hand pulls down both sides of that lever and then let the slide go while continuing to hold those buttons down. Now the slide should slide right off the front of the frame. Once the slide slides off the front of the frame, you lay the slide down. Here's the slide spring. All you have to do is roll it to the side, put it down. The barrel is now exposed in the slide. You push forward of the cog that's up here for the locking lug. You push it forward, that releases the barrel, and lift the barrel up and out of the slide. You can lay the slide down, you can lay the barrel down. Now the gun is disassembled for cleaning. The next thing you want to do is get your equipment and tools ready to be able to clean the gun. You're going to use a gun cleaner or a solvent that will break down the material that's contained inside the barrel from the barrel buildup of the gun firing, and also any dirt and crud that's accumulated. You'll also want to use gun oil, but just remember, less oil is better. The less oil you use, the less likely you are to accumulate more and more dirt. If we were to zoom in on this, you'd see all sorts of dirt that's accumulated over it. We're going to wipe all of that dirt off so that we can use small amounts of oil to clean it. Now, the first thing we want to do is clean the inside of the barrel. So this is called a jag, J-A-G, and it is attached to the end of a handle. Going back to the parts that we're using solvent, we're using gun oil, we're using a cleaning rod, and we're using a jag that attaches to the end of the rod. We also use cleaning patches that are used to go through the barrel with solvent on them to clean the inside of the barrel out. That's the purpose of the rod. The cleaning patches are right here, and they are made to the size of the barrel that you're cleaning. These are used for 9mm, for 40 caliber, and maybe a 32 caliber or a 380 caliber handgun. These will be used for that. If you have a 45, you'll want a little bit larger patches. The solvent, never dip anything into the solvent. It will contaminate it. You want to drop the solvent out onto the cleaning patch. The way you attach the cleaning patch to the jag, you'll see I folded it over while I was talking. You'll insert the cleaning patch through the opening of the jag and then pull it through. Now we have the cleaning patch attached to something that we can push through the barrel and clean the inside of the barrel out. You want to open the solvent by pushing down on the cap and lifting up. This one's never been opened, so we'll open a small amount right there so that we can drop just a couple drops onto, let me move some of this. That's right. Move some of this so that I can put it right there. Are we still in the frame?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh well. All right, now we've broken in the towel. That's successful. Now, you hold the barrel from the chamber side. This is the chamber. This is the barrel. You hold it from the chamber side and insert this cloth into the barrel and run it through the barrel. You run it through the barrel several times. You can twist it. Twist the rod while you're running through the barrel just to make sure that the solvent goes all the way through and gets into all the nooks and crannies of the lands and grooves called rifling inside the barrel. Now we've got that solvent going, so let's take a little bit of it and we'll also wipe the outside of that chamber also to get the crud that's built up on the outside. You can see that, that crud that's built up on the outside. We'll run it along the edges so that you get all the areas, both inside and outside, of the barrel and the chamber. This gets it nice and clean so that it can function properly, because it's a tool. And you want to be able to have the tool clean so that it works properly when you need it. Now, we're through with the barrel for right now. We'll continue on using the same cloth, and we can wipe down the slide spring. The slide spring won't get too dirty, it depending on the type of ammunition that you're using and how many rounds you shoot through the gun before you clean the gun. It's recommended that you clean the gun maybe after every 100 rounds or so. Now we're ready to attack the slide. So you pick up the slide and you'll put that solvent, that cloth with the solvent, in the slide and wipe out all of these areas by pushing your finger down in here. If you'd like, you can also use a barrel brush that is contained generally with every gun that's delivered and to the size. I'm wiping all this out to get this lint and cloth that's built up inside the slide out of it. Now don't be afraid to use more than one cloth. I'm going to get rid of this cloth You get a new one. Put a little bit of solvent on it. And continue on cleaning the slide. Wherever you put the solvent, make certain that you wipe that off after the fact, because you don't want to leave a lot of the solvent on the various parts. Notice I'm putting my fingernail down inside to clean the slide, the crevice for the slide opening that holds it on to the frame. Normally you wouldn't have to do a lot of this on the outside because you would keep it from accumulating so much of the dust and dirt that this one happened to accumulate. So now we attack the frame the same way. You wipe down the frame with a small amount of solvent, making certain that you get all these springs and the mechanism back here in the back that is for the trigger. Make sure that they're clean. You might end up having to take this gun for a total disassembly at a gunsmith and have the gunsmith clean the gun to get all of the dirt and the accumulated dust from inside all the mechanism down inside here. This block up front also should be taken out to be totally cleaned up here. This is a trigger block and contains everything to be able to pull the trigger and have it go off properly. As you'll see the buildup that we've been able to accumulate from that, and we'll get it out of here. Would you happen to have a cotton swab? The gun really wasn't very gun dirty with gunpowder so much as it was dusty from having been kept in a location without it being in a properly holstered or put in a gun case. So we're solving that issue by cleaning it thoroughly right now. Okay, now we've got a cotton swab here. I'm going to put a little bit of this solvent on the cotton swab. And I'm doing this so that I can get into where the pins are and clean out that dust and dirt from the pins. Each one of these areas you can wipe. It doesn't necessarily, it's not totally important that these are clean, but if you have every area of the gun clean, it's much more likely to operate effectively and to function properly. If you have any area that might have accumulations of dust or dirt, the possibility exists that the gun is not going to operate properly. And that's not what we want in a situation where you might have to depend on this for your life. You can see some of the residue that I'm able to get off the gun just by cleaning the insides with a Q-tip. Okay, let's go back to the slide and see if we can get some of the dust. We're working on the ejector portion right now so that we can get a good clean ejection from a spent casing. Again, working where the firing pin comes and back down into I think we've got it all just about fairly well cleaned. And now we'll wipe it down to try to get a lot of the excess solvent off of it. We did get a lot done with that. So we'll let's put the cap on so we don't knock this over. I'm going to take a cloth and begin to wipe down to try to get excess solvent off of the slide and make sure that everything is somewhat dry. Now we have a nice clean slide. You see that? Okay, we've got the slide. Let's go to the barrel. Wipe the outside of the barrel down. We're going to come back here in a minute, put another patch on the rod, and wipe down the inside of the barrel to make sure, for the same reasons, that we're getting the solvent and any dirty stuff out of the lands and grooves of the barrel itself. Wipe down the slide spring, the magazine, whoop. Wipe off the follower of the magazine. This is the follower. Pushes the round up from a spring inside. And the frame and the parts that are inside the frame. Okay, now let's go for the inside of the barrel. And again, remember, you can't use too many patches. You always keep changing out the patches in order to keep it clean. Slide it through the little jag opening, push it through the barrel, back and forth, twist it so that it gets all the way around inside the lands and grooves. There's no obstructions in the barrel, and the barrel looks nice and clean. Okay. This comes out. Now, oil. As I said before, small amount of oil. The smaller amount, the better, but we still have to oil certain parts of the gun. In the slide, up in the top, because of the movement of the barrel in the slide as the gun works, the slide moves back and forth, the barrel drops up and down. So you'll want to put one drop on the inside top of the slide. One drop of oil. Bip, there it is. And I'll tell you right now, as the gun is operated, it's going to heat up. And as the gun heats up, it's going to lubricate itself by heating up that oil and getting it worked into all the various parts of the gun. So, continuing on, one drop in the slide. I put one drop back in the back where the trigger mechanism is, because there are some springs in there. I put one drop in there. I put one drop here, one drop here. This is the slide latch that holds the slide on with the slide rails. So I put one underneath that rail, one underneath that rail, one underneath this rail, and one underneath this rail. One drop of oil. One drop, one drop, one drop, one drop. Close the oil up, that's it. Now, I'm ready to reassemble the gun. Okay, first thing I do, pick the slide up, face the opening of the barrel toward me with it in my hand. Get the barrel so that the muzzle, which is the end of the barrel, is pointing toward me, and drop it into that opening. And then you'll hear the barrel clicks into place up near the ejection port. Lay it flat, pick up the slide spring. The slide spring has a rounded nose on this side and a flat side on this one. The flat side is the side that we want up against the barrel on the portion toward the trigger area, the ejection port. What I do, I put the slide spring goes in to the end of the slide, and then it's going to be attached underneath here. The way I do it is I hold my thumb here and use my other finger to just push it down with just a little bit of effort. Push it right there. All you have to do is get it to the side, and you ought to be able to slide it in. Once it's in there, it's not going to come out. Now, you'll want to reattach the slide to the frame by starting at the end of the slide, picking up the frame and moving it to the back. You'll want to put it again on these rails so that it slides nice and easy on the inside of the slide. So I make certain those rails are there, slide it to the back. Once I get it on the all four slides, I pop it and you should hear, and it locks. That the gun is reassembled. That's all it takes. Now, I would work the slide and then wipe off any excess oil. And there is a nice clean GLOCK Model 19. Now, magazine, make sure it nicely slides in there, and there you have your GLOCK reassembled. And then the phone rang. So you can stop it.